Raj, would you like to join us? Got anything you want to share with us?
It's been a while.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've been kind of busy with work and
yeah,
school. I
yeah.
went back to school to working on a master's in social work.
Fantastic.
Um,
Good for you, man.
Thank you.
Yeah,
But it's challenging. It's really challenging in uh, because I don't have much of a social outlet,
yeah.
and so I'm trying to improve that.
Okay. Can everybody just unmute for a moment? Everyone, just unmute. Everyone, unmute. Okay, great. Can everyone just say hello to Raj?
Hello, Raj.
Hello, Raj.
Hello, Raj.
There you go. Little
There we
social
go.
group, a social group for you, brother.
Yeah, I got that box checked now.
Thanks, everyone.
So,
Yeah,
but yeah, other than that, I've been also working on because I run a lot of groups at my work. I work for a substance use disorder outpatient treatment facility,
fantastic.
and
That's so cool. Yep.
and I really um, I feel as though the tools that I've learned from non-duality in trying to incorporate those teachings in the groups that I conduct, and in my one-on-one sessions as well. I work as a clinical specialist, so I do one-on-one sessions in groups.
Yep.
And then, but internally, like I feel like there's this line between acceptance and change, and what because it's seemingly crucial for the clients that I work with to change behaviors, and although it's almost like that need is there, but simultaneously the peace, the eternal peace, or however you want to put it, is also there simultaneously.
Yeah.
And it's hard to that's kind of a strange juxtaposition to balance. And I kind of just wanted to throw that out there to see like maybe what some of your what your take is on that.
Yeah, sure. Look, I think change is an interesting thing. That's kind of a sideline topic, really, but acceptance. I love that topic. Yeah. My background, as you probably know, I came through the 12-step fellowship. Yeah. So I certainly know about substance abuse, and I know about detoxes, and I know about rehabs, and yeah. That's why I went, well done that you're doing that. That's awesome. But I think, when you're dealing with people that are in this situation early in recovery, when you're dealing with people early in recovery, I think, one of the easiest things to point out to them is that most of the suffering that they're experiencing in their life is due to simply non-acceptance of what is. Yeah. And the suffering arises out of the non-acceptance of what is, whatever it is, whatever that what is, it arises out of the non-acceptance of what is, you know. And it's a bit, especially when people are in early recovery, you know, but this applies to any human being. You don't have to be in recovery. The non-acceptance of what is akin to a 4 or 3 or a 4-year-old kid losing the ice cream off the top of their ice cream, off their ice cream cone, it hitting the floor, and then them standing there screaming and kicking and carrying on because they've now lost their ice cream and they're crying over it. The reality is that's just what is, right? But you'd expect that from a 3 or a 4-year-old. Look around, yeah? You've got apparent adults behaving exactly the same way. Exactly the same way. You know, I used to use a silly little analogy. I haven't used it for a long time, but I'll use it now. You know, imagine you, Raj, and I'm in early recovery, right? And you ask, you kind of look at me and you go, you notice there's something wrong, yeah, with me, frown on my face or whatever, but you notice that there's something wrong. Yeah? And you ask me, what's wrong? What's happening? And I say, I'm just feeling really, really pissed off. I'm angry. You go, okay. Why are you feeling angry? I say, because I just can't believe that all the roads in Australia are black and I want them white. And until they're white, I'm going to remain pissed off. Now that sounds really silly, I know, right? But if you look at somebody that's actually having an apparent genuine problem, yeah. Oh, I don't know. My father won't speak to me. Let's just make one up, yeah? My father won't speak to me. He hasn't spoken to me in years, yeah? And as a result of that, I'm really sad and I'm suffering and, you know, I want him to speak to me and, you know, blah, blah, blah. Now, you can either accept in that moment, and it's always just in that moment because it's always in the moment. It's always now. You can either accept the fact that he doesn't speak to you, or you can not accept the fact that he doesn't speak to you and suffer. It's that simple. In whatever it is that's going on in somebody's life, you know, acceptance is key. And if we can't accept, we need to look at why we can't accept. And what's the result of not accepting? What's the result? I suffer. Fuck that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? So,
Yeah,
you know,
I do.
But you're right. I understand, you know, that the change component. Yeah, they do need to change. But if you can literally just start working on acceptance, a huge shift can happen. People start to change.
And I think that, you know, I know that to be true
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
most things,
Yeah.
aside from maybe, you know, like childhood trauma, like
Sure.
on a deeper level. Like I think that some of that stuff, you know, ends up becoming so deeply ingrained in people that it's almost a part of their like their character.
It is, but and not to sound at all callous, you know, it still comes down to non-acceptance.
Right. And but it's, you know, some of the things that I think that are, you know, because it is non-acceptance, and that's going to be the answer, whether it's not for them yet, at that point. However, like getting them to the place of being ready to accept
Yeah.
that, And I feel like that's where the rubber meets the road.
Correct.
For
yeah.
occupation.
Sure. Yeah. You can't. Yeah. Not everyone can accept what is. Not everyone can accept what is in the moment. Try telling the Palestinian kids that right now.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, man, it's cool. Just accept it's just what is. Accept it. Like while they're running around. No, not everyone can accept what is. You know. But generally speaking, yeah, you find that a lot of a human being suffering, and I'm not talking about extreme cases like kids in Palestine, right? But a lot of people's suffering is simply related to the fact that they just can't accept what is. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, having said that, yeah, I think it's absolutely, completely, 100% unacceptable what's happening in Palestine right now. I'm saying that. Yeah. I'm not accepting that. I don't suffer from it, but I have a voice. It's unacceptable what's happening. Those that are suffering from it are the kids in Palestine. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, you know, it's not a blanket. I mean, it is. The reality is right here, right now, what's happening.
Yeah.
Not much. Yeah. But again, try telling the Palestinian kid that.
Right.
Who's hiding somewhere because bombs are going off all around him, and he's 6 or 7 years old. You know, like, fuck, yeah. You can't. It would be inappropriate. Same with when you're working with people that are early in recovery. It would be inappropriate. But you can gradually, subtly start to introduce the reality of acceptance and non-acceptance. Gradually. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you know, I went through some childhood trauma, and at some point, whatever that
I remember
point,
you saying that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. At some point, and whatever that point is, if somebody walked up to me and just said, "Look, man, it's just because you're not accepting it," I might have punched him in the nose.
Right.
Like, seriously, you know, I wasn't ready to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
I just wasn't ready to hear that. You know what I mean? So, but there comes a time. There comes a time where you can pretty much accept pretty much anything. Although I have a caveat on what's happening to kids in Palestine. Me, I think it's abhorrent what's happening there to the kids. It's just not just the kids, everybody, you know. But for me, especially the kids, when I'm seeing the children suffer, what's going on there, you know. It's,
I you know, it's interesting that you bring that up too, because I've for a few years I've had a fascination with the documentary director Adam Curtis. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
No.
He's done quite a few like documentaries that happen to deal with a lot with like social engineering and the phenomenon. Like he's basically a social scientist, I would say. But he's got some really fascinating. He has a real fascinating outlook on the progression of modern, you know, society and you know, world politics and things of that nature. And one of the things that he was talking about was like there was like the movement out of the 60s where there was kind of this disenchantment from, you know, and the rise of individualism through like psychedelics and spiritual, like looking at a different spiritual lifestyle, and how like those social movements that were resulting in a lot of revolution that was happening during the 60s ended up sputtering out, and then the people from that were originally, you know, like left leaning, and the impetus of these social movements started leaning towards, no, change yourself, and that way you will change the world. And his take on that was that created this sort of apathy that, you know, we've come to accept a lot of this warring, you know, because it's become almost a norm for us.
Yeah.
And that these social movements have lost their steam because of this adoption of this worldview that we are you know, in order to change the world, we have to change ourselves. So and I just, you know, I was listening to that and I was like, oh my God, that is actually kind of an interesting conundrum. And I feel like that's something that people in non-duality end up having to face on like a pretty regular basis of, like, you know, that whole thing with, like, in the 12 steps, when it boils down to it, you know, acceptance versus the wisdom to know the difference in what you can change, you know. And so you know, I wonder, you know, part of me is like, well, do we do enough, you know?
It's interesting. Just on that, yeah. My teacher, my non-dual teacher, yeah.
Bob, Sailor Bob?
Yeah, Bob, right, yeah.
Yeah.
He was like 65 years sober or something when he passed, yeah. And he passed in February this year. And I'd known him for 40 years, and on the odd occasion I'd go to a meeting with him. They'd have an old timers meeting once a year, yeah, where all the oldest sober members were invited to get up and share. And he was like the oldest sober member in Melbourne, Australia. Yeah. So he'd get up and share. And I went to a few of those with him, yeah. Mainly just because I love him, you know. And I noticed something when I used to go to meetings with him. At the end of the meeting, everyone would stand, and sometimes you'd join a circle or not, whatever. And everyone would start reciting the serenity prayer. And I noticed something about Bob. He never recited the serenity prayer. He just stood there. Yeah. And I thought, that's odd. Why are you not, you know, I never noticed anybody not citing the serenity prayer unless they were a newcomer or really, really badly lost in their head or you know, whatever. You know, so I asked him, I said, why do you not cite the serenity prayer? And he said, because everything in the serenity prayer has already come true for me. I don't need to keep reciting it. It's finished. And I went, holy shit. And I understood exactly what he meant, you know. He would say, there's no God and there's no me to grant anybody anything, right? And he would say, there's no such thing as change. Everything is just happening right here, right now. And the mind creates apparent change. Yeah. And the wisdom to know the difference was the wisdom to know I'm done with that now. It's finished. Like the serenity prayer happened. Finished. It's like, holy shit.
Yeah, that's deep.
That's like, holy shit, you know. And now I understand it exactly. I understand it. You know, it's deep, or you could say it's sharp. It's what he was doing. He was speaking from the immediacy of the moment, just the absolute immediacy of the moment, with there not being any past or present in that moment. Because this is where it happens. This is where we actually are. Yeah, and the mind creates everything else, including trauma and a background and you know, and fear of the future and what's going to happen and anticipation of the future and blah, blah. That's all mind, you know.
And there's something that exists that does care about it, though, right?
Well, until there isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
hang on, care about what?
that cares about the plane of phenomenon. You know, there's something that cares about it and cares about the progression of how this carries out.
Well, in a dreamlike way, yes.
And you know,
Not in an actual way. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing that needs to progress. There's nothing that needs to get better. Nothing.
it starts to get into this will thing, you know.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You know, like what we can change and what we can't change, and that sort of thing.
I know, but you know, who has free will to be able to implement that?
It appears.
Yeah, but who? Okay. Is there free will? Yes. Is it individual free will? No. No. That's where we, you know, miss the mark. That's where we miss the mark. It's not, is there free will happening? 100%. What you could say is there's one universal free will. One. It's doing all the thinking, it's doing all the animating, it's creating everything, it's breathing everybody, it's creating all the thoughts in everybody. It's one will. Yeah, there's one will. Yeah.
So I'll speak for myself. There's something in me that still cares about the outcome of what the individual has on its plate.
Understood. And that's just the dualistic character.
Right.
That's just the mind. It's just the mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Until, you know, when it fully dawns, there is no individual character. There is actually no me. Never has been. It's not like there is one and one day it goes away because we become enlightened and we see. There's never been one, ever.
Well, it all feels like thoughts. It's all thoughts.
Good.
It's all thoughts.
It is. Period.
But there's something, I just feel like there's something behind even the thoughts that cares about the outcome of the you know, phenomenal action.
Doesn't care one iota at all.
Yeah, I mean, consciousness, I feel like, for lack of a better term, does not. It's like whatever happens.
Yeah.
But I guess, and maybe this is my question to you, is that that sensation of something within this that I call me cares about the outcome of what is unfolding.
Yeah.
You know, is that something that can be somehow redirected or corrected or anything like that? Like, is that just a part of accepting, like, you know, hey, this is just a part of the character and that's just what it is?
Let me ask you this silly question. Yeah. Really silly question. Yeah. Would you grab a fork, like a knife and fork, right? A fork, yeah, and stab yourself in the eye with that fork?
Hell no.
Hell no. Right?
Right.
Okay. When you understand that you am I, you wouldn't create any harm.
Right.
Just like you wouldn't stab yourself in the eye with a fork. Do you understand? It's only the mind that's dividing. It's the mind that's saying, you're there, I'm here, we're separate, you're an individual, I've got a body here and you've got a body there and blah, blah. And we miss the consciousness. we miss that. Yeah. That we are one with or one as yeah, is the consciousness. Just that. And it's not,
Like
there's an individual consciousness here and an individual
Right.
consciousness there.
Right.
It's one form
No,
of
it feels like there's consciousness and then there's a Raj, or a character that's
understood.
identified as Raj within that consciousness.
Understood. But who or what is it that's experiencing the Raj character?
Consciousness.
Yeah, it's not Raj.
No. Which is wild, and like it's interesting when you turn clients on to something like that.
Yeah. No, that's
and they're able to pick it up, and it's like, wow.
That's a good place. Like, it's a good place to land, yeah. Because what I'm constantly trying to guide people back to is, instead of being conscious of, just come back to the consciousness. Now, everything that we've just discussed, everything, yeah, is all related to conscious of. Everything that we just discussed, right?
Right.
Good. So ultimately, where we're heading is back to the consciousness.
Yeah.
Just that. And everything is resolved there. It's amazing.
Yes.
That's what Bob was talking about.
Right.
Just in the immediacy. So everything gets resolved there. So, yeah. Then when you arrive there, there's nowhere else to go. A little bit like what John was saying. When you kind of arrive fully here, there's nowhere else to go. Nowhere else to go. Yeah.
Right.
And that good. And then when we arrive here, that place of nowhere else to go, that's where the seeking starts. What I sometimes try and encourage people to do is to become one with the consciousness. But when we initially arrive here, right, we're conscious, yeah. But now we're more conscious of than we've ever been. Like, we're just here, and we're conscious of the immediacy of now and what's constantly arising now and what's happening now, but out there as opposed to in here. So we kind of step out of the dream. You kind of, you awaken here. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Then we have to have the capacity to then just stay with that only. Not go back to mind, not go back to the body. Yeah. Not go back to being conscious of. And you're not always going to be able to do that. You'll be at work and you'll need to be conscious of. You're at work, there's clients, and people are suffering. Right? You got to step up and help them. But any chance that you get, when you're just sitting quietly, there's no distraction, just keep coming back home.